we had discussed your fitness journey, your running journey. So now I'd
Yeah.
just like to touch on women or your thoughts on being a woman. So this afternoon I was actually watching interviews by Chimamanda Adichie and Ngozi Adichie. And I realized, yeah, there's a lot of issues that affect women that are actually not spoken about. And from my other discussions over the past few days, I've actually gotten insight that there are issues, certain women's issues that are not spoken about. So I'd just like you to touch on that. What affects you since you identify as a feminist?
I think there's a lot of issues, and I think COVID, for an example, has brought up a lot of issues, especially with a lot of people flooding hospitals because of COVID. I feel like female and reproductive health rights have been largely neglected. I mean, women who are pregnant can't stop being pregnant because COVID is now occurring. You know what I'm saying? Because so the mortality rate for women who are pregnant now is going to go up a lot because we're neglecting one thing to focus on on the other thing. And I mean, it is valid for people to now be focusing on COVID, but they can't do that at the expense of sexual and reproductive rights of women, which are in a dire state right now because of the COVID pandemic.
And I think it's quite telling that you mentioned that because when we went into our hard lockdown, we
Yeah,
literally couldn't buy anything at the shops except food to a point where retailers like Pep and Ackermans were closed. And those are the type of retailers that women who've had babies or new families buy their clothes from, and they were closed. After the public gave in their
complain.
comments to the government, only Woolworths was allowed to sell babies' clothes. And even then, it was a small selection. And I remember
Yeah,
going to the Woolworths here in Randfontein, which is extremely small, probably like the smallest
yeah,
Woolworths in the country. And they had a section open for babies' clothes, but it was literally like three racks. And the type of area that we are living in is not conducive to the target market. Is not the target market of a retailer like Woolworths. And I was just like, it actually made me kind of sad to think that a woman who's just had a baby and cannot necessarily afford the shop has
yeah,
to come here and buy a baby grow for 250 rand, which is a lot of money for somebody who's just
yeah.
had a baby.
And
So
with that being said, I wanted to say that I think the COVID pandemic for me just showed that how government solutions aren't necessarily gendered. They don't look at women. I mean, if you look at how the lockdown happened, they don't look at would sexual violence and domestic violence increase. So I think when government thinks of solutions, most of the time women aren't thought of in the forefront on some, okay, if there's a hard lockdown, woman who's stuck with her abuser, how will that affect her rights to get out of that situation? So I think for me, it just highlighted that the government doesn't necessarily think of woman or gender in its solutions that it proposes during the pandemic. And that's for me is very, very worrying.
and do you think it's something that's limited to South Africa, or do you see it as a worldwide problem?
It's definitely a worldwide problem. And the one thing I will say is countries which are led by women have seemed to be responded better and have had better leadership and more gendered solutions. So thinking of women's rights, especially when you know in this kind of situations, people are stressed, domestic violence is likely to increase.
I find it very interesting you say that because right now, if anybody has seen my stories, I'm currently reading a book called Queens of the Kingdom,
Yeah,
and it's about women's lives in Saudi Arabia. So the author did a similar thing to what I'm doing now, where she interviewed a lot of different women in Saudi Arabia from different classes, different jobs, and she asked them the same set of questions. So there's two questions that stick out to me. One, she asked them what she thinks of women driving because women driving in that country is still a
yeah,
big issue. And two, if they think women should lead. So during lockdown, I was actually reading a book, and the last feature of a woman that she interviewed, the woman in that interview stated that she doesn't think that women can lead because women think with their emotions and not with their head. So she doesn't think that they can actually run an entire country. And it's quite interesting to And it's a general trend in the book. One,
Yeah.
they say that women shouldn't drive because it's not safe for women to drive. And two, they feel that a woman shouldn't lead because a woman cannot make rational decisions. And I think that's the general consensus with the population in that country. And I find it very interesting that that country has that view and the rest of the world has a different view, to the point where
Yeah.
some countries actually have women presidents.
But I think you also need to realize it's a huge factor in how the woman responded is their conditioning. They've been conditioned because of the country they lived in to think a certain way about women driving and women leading. So I think if you were to ask that in a woman in a different country, the response would be very different. So conditioning and your environment plays a very big role in how you respond to those kind of questions.
True. I actually wanted to ask you, wait, sorry, no, my phone's doing something weird. Women empowerment, do you think that's currently happening?
Definitely not at the rate it should be happening. I mean, at the beginning of the year, I attended a conference here in Dublin where they said that it would take us 99.8 years for us to reach gender equality. So if you look at the statistics, let's say 99.8 years, if we go at the particular rate we're going at, woman empowerment isn't happening at the rate that it should be happening. And the stats basically show us that we have gone backwards over the last couple of years. So I think it's definitely something that we need to look at. It can't take us 99.8 years for us to get to a point where we have gender equality, and therefore we need to prioritize women equality as well, because I think when women are empowered, economies become better. And I mean, that's a study that has been looked at by the UN Women, and it goes without saying, there's evidence to show that when we empower women, economies improve.
Which is in line with what I think it's N_LAT just said right now, that single mothers are affected the most by interventions such as lockdown, which is true because, for example,
Yeah.
I grew up with a single mother, and there's a lot of houses here in South Africa, and I think also worldwide, where there are single mother households.
Yeah. I think,
I've
yeah.
also
Yeah.
no, sorry, go on.
No, I just think like it shows that our government is conditioned to think in a certain way where we never think of single mothers. We think of, oh, the family structure is the traditional family structure. And we know that to be untrue in terms of South Africa, where most households are headed by women. So sometimes, I don't know, I think our government is disillusioned by the actual facts on the ground and what they actually think is supposed to be happening.
It goes back to who's actually in charge and being voted into government.
Yeah.
Which is a call that's being made, that, you need more youth in the government because they come with a fresh perspective. I think COVID actually highlighted that the government in South Africa actually has a lot of people who are over 60, who are over 70. And they're actually more at risk of being affected,
Yeah.
That's true. And over the years, I've seen an uprise in the body positivity movement, which I think 10 years or 15 years ago would not have happened.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's actually quite good that women are able to be more comfortable with themselves at every size. And I think it's something I've embraced because I've always been very conscious of my body, especially as a runner. Back in the day, I used to be quite hectic with my diet, making sure that I eat very little to maintain very lean and very fast, which is something I thought was important at the time. But I think right now I'm a bit more flexible because I realized that even me at a bit of a heavier weight, I can still run the same as I did when I was very leaner. So I've kind of also debunked the myth for myself, the fact that I need to be very lean in order for me to be very fast in running. So I think it's very good that women are a bit more comfortable and they're seeing greater representation of themselves at every size in the media. And I think that the media becoming more accepting is also a big thing for women.
So let's touch on women in sports. So I had a conversation with another lady from the UK, I think 2 days ago, and her thoughts on this topic was that women, or rather women in sports, or rather women in general, are judged differently. She touched on the point that when Serena Williams was playing a tennis match wearing a bodysuit, that caused more uproar than her winning the match. So whatever she's wearing or doing will overshadow her performance in the match. And this is something that I've never actually thought of or realized in terms of sports and how women are treated. Is there anything more that you could add to that, or another point?
I think for me, when I think of women in sport, I always think about women can get pregnant and men can't. And I think that becomes a major issue. I mean, we've seen a lot of Nike athletes come out and say that Nike didn't want to pay them the same amount of money during the time they were pregnant because they obviously wouldn't be competing more. So I think there is a lot of unfair discrimination because of for biological reasons, because women can become pregnant and obviously as a result take some time off from the sport until they come back. But I think a lot of women like Alex and Felix, for example, have debunked the fact that you can't come back strong after you've given birth to your baby. I mean, she came back and she beat Usain Bolt's record of the most championship goals at the IAAF. So I think it's definitely a whole lot harder to be a woman than a man when it comes to the whole pregnancy and how your sponsors feel about you having to take time off to actually raise a family.
And in terms of representation, which sporting codes do you think women need to be more represented in?
Definitely like your sports like soccer and rugby. Because I think whenever we think of soccer and rugby, we always think of male teams. We always think of Chelsea, the male team, Man United, the male team. We don't actually think about the female teams that represent those big brands. So we definitely need to do more to have female representation in sports like soccer and rugby, because they are played by women at a very high competition level, but we only ever see the male matches being aired on TV. And I think that was an issue with Banyana Banyana, them winning matches, but none of their matches being aired on TV, and us as the fans at home not being able to watch them because apparently female sports does not make money.
And that's quite ironic, because not only do they win championships, they win matches, they represent the country better than their male counterparts, but also in terms of the gender pay parity, they get paid less.
A lot less in the games that they play.
That's also still an issue that is not being remedied at all. And I think it was 3 weeks ago, there was the Black Lives Matter issue blew up again, which had me thinking. I don't know if you saw on my stories, I posted, there's a crew, and one of the crew members created mock-ups of Runner's World magazine showing athletes of different races, different body types. And I just wanted to know, which sporting codes do you think need more representation in terms of people of color participating? Off the top of my head, I can say swimming, because for me, that's quite a big issue.
The top of my head is tennis, because besides Serena and Coco Buff, the young people coming along, and Sloane Stephens, we don't have more. Can you think of any more besides those people who play tennis?
Only one more, and she's biracial. Is it Naomi
Osaka, yeah.
She's the one that beat Serena.
Serena Williams, yeah. So there aren't many that come to the top of your head, especially I think of males. Like there are more women, but males, can you think of any? No.
Yeah, no.
Can you think of anyone else besides Tiger Woods? No. Because Tiger Woods, I think, has become the token Black person, and therefore they don't need to have anybody else. And I think that's not right.
he's the supermodel of golf, like Naomi
Yeah.
was supermodel, the black supermodel. And I think that happens in a lot of spaces, hey, where you get in a certain sporting coach, you get that one black person and they're on there for a couple of years and then they're not, after they
Yeah.
move on, they're replaced by another person. But also, I think it goes back to the grassroots level of developing that sport. I personally would like to see more people in the pool because I think it's an important skill to know how to swim.
Yes.
But we have swimming pools in our township, but they're not maintained and they
Yeah.
don't have people who provide swimming lessons. So that's also another barrier that stops children from participating in these sports because they might have the talent, but they don't have anybody to develop them.
Yeah. No, and I agree with you, but I think there are, from what I know in terms of swimming, there are government programs that provide free swimming lessons to people in the township, but I'm not sure about how many people actually know about those opportunities that are there.
True, true, true. Yeah, so that was me. I just wanted to know your insights on women in sports. So now let's move on to COVID-19, which I think is affecting the entire world. I've never seen
Yeah,
anything that
okay.
can take over the entire world like this. So we know how it's been affecting the economy, the macroeconomy, the microeconomy. But for you personally, as Palesa, how has it affected you?
Um, it's definitely brought a lot more anxiety into my life because I feel like you can't just go out normally now. There's a lot of things that you have to think about when you go out: your mask, your sanitizer,
Uh,
and your gloves. You get what I'm saying? There's a lot more admin you have to think about when you go out, and it's not the same as going for a grocery run. You have to think about, don't touch your face, don't touch. It's just like the small things that you wouldn't think of normally. Now you have to think of everything, like don't touch your face, disinfect everything when you get home. It's just like literally turned life upside down.
There's a story that somebody told me about. I actually haven't read the story. It was told by me. About a woman who was so scared of corona that she didn't leave the house since lockdown started. She got her groceries delivered. She didn't have any visitors. She didn't go outside, and she still got it.
I've
But
had
she got it
friends
because
who are also scared, who didn't go, who also had their groceries delivered. Like I've had people who stayed in the house for 2, 3 months because they were so scared of getting it.
but this woman, she actually got it because of the deliveries that she was getting.
So the delivery guy probably had it, and then that's
Or the
sad.
groceries or something had it. So I found that quite ironic because when you think about this virus, especially in a country like South Africa, where it's not really easy to self-isolate, especially for people
Yeah.
who are living six in one room, that a lot of people are going to get it. And I think some people have gotten it already and they've healed from it, but they don't know because our testing is not done until you've got
The
certain
symptoms, yeah.
symptoms. Mm, mm. And you've also got situations like where my mother works where somebody can test positive, but they're still coming to work because she's a healthcare professional. So,
Oh wow,
it,
that's
you know,
insane.
yeah, that's the situation right now where healthcare professionals are getting sick and the skeleton staff that's left over, they still need to carry on working. And
Yeah.
also another thing with COVID is that today you can test negative and then a week after you can test positive again. Or you can heal and still get the virus after you heal.
Again, which is wow, yeah, this makes this virus even more scary. The fact that you can get it even after you've healed.
It's like chickenpox. Well, at least you
Mm,
can't get chickenpox twice, but essentially that's what it is to the population right now.
yeah, which is very scary.
Yep. And I think it's disrupted anything. So I've been asking everybody this. What do you think our new normal is going forward? Because right now I have been working from home since March. I haven't been to Sandton in 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
So going forward, what do you think our new normal is going to be?
I think the new normal is definitely not going to be our old normal, and we need to settle into that, especially for us runners, people who love running races, because we know that marathons and all these races, it brings together a large number of runners together. And that probably will not be happening for a long period of time because running, first of all, big groups of people in one space. And also the fact that the water stations become communal areas where everybody can just drink and throw away their cups in all one place. So I think we're going to have to rethink the way we do our races, whether we decide to do staggered running, where people run in intervals, like one group goes first and then there's another group and smaller groups. And we just also need to rethink our water stations, because the way it's set up right now, it's not it's conducive for making the virus spread. So I think the running fraternity will forever be changed, and we just have to rethink of ways to run, especially in smaller groups. And the water stations, how do we keep people safe when they're getting when they're getting at a water point getting water? Because sometimes you find that people gather there for a period because they have to stop and get some water, or you know what I'm saying. So I think it's just going to change how you run. And with all the major races being cancelled, it's really going to change the sport, I think, for a very long time.
And in terms of normal life, so when I go out right now, it's a case of, okay, got my wallet, got my phone, got my glasses. When I step out, two, three steps out of the door, I'm like, oh, I don't have my mask. Now I have to go back and look for a mask. And then you put on your mask and you breathe out and it fogs up your glasses.
Yeah, for those of us who wear glasses, we know that way too well.
So do you think we're still going to continue wearing masks when you're going to restaurants? What businesses do you think are going to close forever, and what new economies do you think are going to pop up?
I think we have to, because I think we'd be fooling ourselves and also be a bit disillusioned if we thought life would go back to normal, because normal has changed. And especially because we know the Spanish flu, the effects lasted for 2 years. So we also need to gear ourselves for at least a 2-year run, 3-year run with this thing. So life will ever be changed. We have to wear masks. We have to social distance. We may not hug people. I think maybe handshake may be changed. We may find that we maybe adapt the Japanese style where we now bow when we greet people, because physical contact, I think, will be kind of not possible for a long time. So I do see like things like handshakes being done away with altogether, because that's too much physical contact. That's like germ spreading. So things like that, the way we do business will definitely change significantly. I also hope that because of the pandemic, local tourism industries will be boosted by for the people in those countries, because people maybe aren't allowed to travel outside, but I feel like maybe now they will be forced to explore their own countries. So maybe there'll be a boom in local tourism industries from local people actually traveling, instead of us booking a trip to Italy. Let's go to Neisner for some time and have fun there. Yeah, so I think that may change. We may actually get to know our countries a bit better, because now we're forced to explore within our own borders instead of going out like we normally would, because it's not as easy now to travel anymore.
I was speaking to a lady from the US in my DMs, and she was telling me about when her daughter came to South Africa on a missionary, and she asked me about a restaurant, Carnivore, and I was like, wow, her daughter is all the way from the US and she's been to the restaurant. It's in Mildersdrift, which is not even an hour's drive from me, and I've never been there. So I think those type of behaviors, like you've mentioned, will change. Finally, maybe I'll see this restaurant and I'll taste like crocodile meat. I'll go to the Apartheid Museum because I've been wanting to go there, but I just never think of going there. Things like going to the Hector Peterson Memorial, maybe seeing like a few museums in Krugersdorp, or hiking at the Walter Sisulu Botanical Gardens, those type of things. I'm looking forward to trying them. And one thing I think I've realized now is that you need to do things now, because you actually don't know how much time you have to do them, or if you still have the means to do them. So I just wanted to find out from you, what new things do you want to try after lockdown has ended?
So while I'm in Ireland, the lockdown is finally being lifted slowly but surely. So I'm definitely going to be traveling more around the Irish countryside, like going to see more stuff because I've kind of been procrastinating. I've been here for over 10 months and I've been procrastinating, saying, oh, I'll do that next month. But with the lockdown, I realized that you can't procrastinate certain things because I may get to miss out on those opportunities altogether. So I think I now know that now is the time, like procrastination, ain't it?
Mhm, mhm, mhm. It means whatever you want to do, it needs to happen now. If you want to run a marathon, do it now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was considering running the Dublin 21K. It's now been cancelled. So I feel like there are
Mm,
certain things where I'm just like, ish, I wanted to hike a bit more, but now I can't because we're in lockdown. And I was just like, damn, I regret not hiking all the times people invited me to go hike before this. So I think, yeah, just do those things when
I'm,
I actually want to do them.
I'm not a very social person, like going to parties or going to clubs. But I was telling my friend that when lockdown ends, I will literally be on the tables at the clubs.
I think because we've realized from lockdown that we are such social beings, we need other people. And I think, yeah, even those people who are very introverted and like being alone, you've realized that actually I like being with other people. And I think that's
This is
what will
true.
change. You'll want to enjoy your time more with other people when this lockdown ends.
And my last question for you, it's not actually a question, but more of a request.
All right.
I'd like for you to share a special message for the women of South Africa for Women's Month.
For Women's Month, I actually want to talk about a campaign that Women for Change South Africa is running. So on the 9th of August, they will be hosting a virtual run where you can run 5 or 10 kilometers and you can register for the run. I'll send you the details for you to post. And basically, the proceeds of that run go towards Rape Crisis South Africa and also go towards the Tears Foundation. We know that South Africa is also fighting the shadow pandemic of violence against women, and we're raising money on Women's Day for these organizations, which are doing such an amazing job helping women who have struggled with sexual violence or gender-based violence. So, if you're willing to run for a cause at this moment in lockdown, think about running for those organizations and helping them raise money because shelters are being are getting very full right now, so they need even more money to increase their capacity.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I will definitely share those details on my page. I'll make a post about it actually on the blog and share that. And that
Oh,
was
yeah, thank
all
you. I
of,
appreciate that.
I will do that. And that was all of my questions for you for today. Is there anything that you would like to discuss further?
No, I just wanted to say that I think from the last time we've spoken, I think the main thing is my relationship with running has definitely changed. I'm back to running for me, which is initially why I started running and loving running. I think over the years, I became too competitive and forgot why I was running. And I became too concerned of being Palesa who ran under 6 minutes, saying, and I didn't want to run if I didn't run that fast. So I think I've kind of found out why I love running again, and it's definitely for me. It's my thing. I do not participate in challenges, and I just run for the love of it again, which is something I
So
found over the period.
so right now during this period, what is like what is your go-to distance?
Right now it's about 8 or 10 Ks. So I have a thing where if I'm not running, I'm walking. So on the days I don't run, I have to walk at least 15,000 steps. So
Oh
I'm
wow.
trying to stay as active as possible just to get my body used to constantly be moving. So if I'm not running, I'm walking and I listen to my body. If my knee hurts, I start to walk. I do not run through the pain, which is something that has definitely changed with me, a big change.
Which is something I think that gets instilled in us as South African runners, that your ultimate goal is comrades, and you're gonna have pain, so you need to get used to run with pain because if you want that comrades medal, you need to survive that 90
Yeah.
kilometers.
Whereas
Which,
me, because I've been running with an injury for so long, I realized that it's important just to listen to your body and listen to its
mhm.
cues. When it hurts, stop.
And somebody has mentioned that, you know what, as much as comrades is the goal, there are people who just want to run 5 kilometers and that's enough for them, and that is their given distance. And we should also have provisions for them to say, this is the
Yeah.
distance you want to do, great, you're still a runner. Not that you're, oh, you haven't completed comrades, you still need to do that one day before we recognize you.
And
I
some
think
of us
that's a
just want to run for fun. Like maybe comrades isn't the goal for all of us. Some of us just want to run out of pure enjoyment and having fun, and that's it. And it's still okay.
mm, which is an important point, I think, that needs to be echoed and reiterated. And I think it's being highlighted actually with COVID right now, because people aren't training for anything. The people that are still running right now, people who actually enjoy running, because I don't think we're going to have a race until 2021, you know?
Yeah, we won't have
If
a
you're
race
running
until
50 kilometers, you're doing it for your health or your fitness, but there's no races coming soon. So if you're still on the streets, you're doing it because you like it. And also, it's cold right now.
Yeah, so for you to get outside of your house means you really love running.
Yep, it is cold. I can't. This weekend was so cold. I was just like, no, it's not happening. It's not
I can
happening.
relate. I come from a very bad winter here in Ireland, so I can honestly relate. Still having to go
And
about your daily life, and it's very cold outside.
yeah, and our running apparel is not suited for cold weather, you
Yeah,
know,
it isn't.
because we apparently have very mild winters, which are not even winters at all. So yeah, but I have
Yeah,
one fleece jacket which I use for everything.
yeah. Same here, because here it's wet and it's extremely cold. So it's something that I had to adapt to as well. Very cold and wet and windy and yeah, just horrible.
But seeing that you've been running in that weather, when you finally do come back to South Africa, South African winters are gonna be nothing for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I realized with Ireland, you realize that it's always going to rain. It's always going to be windy. It's always going to be cold. So you can't wait for the weather to change for you to actually do something. You'll do it anyway because it's always cold here. It's always wet. So it's nothing's going to
Mhm.
change. You just get on with your life.
We have a message for you. LSG from Nike Running. I don't know if you remember her. She says, "Hello, Palesa.
Oh, Stella, I say hi.
Thank you so much for your time. I think it's late now for you. Yeah, the night is still young for me. Being a
Yeah,
student
now I need to get to work on this thesis now.
and a worker. How many words is it?
It's just 15,000, so it's not too bad.
You think just 15,000? Like, that's not like, I don't know, 25 pages?
It's a mini dissertation, as my supervisor keeps reminding me. So she'll be like, it's not that bad.